Welcome to Everyday Herbal. I'm Kenneth Wright. In my work, whether it's in markets, talking to customers, or in private practice, I spend a lot of time talking with people about their bodies, their health, and what kind of support they're looking for. Invariably, and almost without fail, one of the first questions that I ever get asked is, what should I take for X? Or what herbs are great for Y? And I understand why people ask that. We want clarity. We want comfort. We want something concrete. And most of all, we want to feel better, and we want to feel better faster. But over time, what I've noticed is that asking what to take often skips an important step. And a more useful place to start is asking, what is my body actually asking for? So today, I want to talk about listening to our bodies. Not in a mystical or abstract way, but in a very practical, everyday sense. And how that knowledge and how that intimacy with our body will inform us as to what herbal supports that we need and what we should be taking. Herbs tend to work best when they're supporting what the body's already trying to do. And to know what that is, it's important that we listen. We're often taught to focus on symptoms such as fatigue, tension, poor sleep, low energy, and we're taught to fix them as quickly as possible. But symptoms are usually signals. They are information. Fatigue, for example, isn't always the same thing. Sometimes it's depletion. The body is genuinely worn down and asking to be rebuilt. And other times it's overstimulation. The nervous system has been running so hard for so long, and those are very different situations. And they require very different types of support. If we treat all fatigue the same way, we can easily give the body something that it really doesn't need. Tension works the same way. Sometimes tension is something to release. And sometimes it's protective. The body is bracing under stress, or pain, or uncertainty. The body usually whispers a long time before it shouts. Learning to listen gives us more options, and gentler ones. One of the most common mismatches that I see is that people are reaching for stimulation when they really need is calming and nourishment. Stimulants amplify what's already there. So if you are ill or you are tense, stimulation will actually increase that. It's going to magnify what's already going on in your body. That can be helpful when the body is sluggish or cold or stagnant. But when the system is already overstimulated, stimulation often deepens exhaustion underneath. Examples of stimulating herbs are things like green tea, or yerba mate, or rosemary, or ginger. And these are not inherently bad herbs, they just need to be matched with what is actually going on with the body. Same thing with calming herbs or nervines. They don't necessarily sedate, they help the body settle down. And they allow the body to do its own repair work. Examples of these things are like lemon balm, or milky oat tops, or passion flower, and lavender. Energy is not the same thing as vitality. Vitality comes from resilience, not stimulation. We also need to think in terms of short-term support and long-term tonics. Not all herbal support is meant to be acting or taken to act quickly. Some herbs are meant to be taken short-term for short-term support. Situational, if you will. And others are meant to be taken for a long time, slowly and consistently. Short-term herbs can be very useful. Peppermint for digestion, chamomile for acute tension, elderberry during immune exposure, and valerian for temporary sleep disturbances. But tonic herbs work differently. They don't usually create dramatic or immediate changes. They instead support the body's baseline, how it functions every day. Examples include nettle leaf, tulsi, ashwagandha, reishi, or shatavari. Consistency matters more than intensity. Often when something isn't working, it's usually not given enough time to do so. The body does not exist in a vacuum. Season, stress, sleep, digestion, and life stage all influence what support looks like. What works in the winter may feel too heavy in the summer. What works during a calm season in one's life may not work very well when it's a period of high tension. Listening to the body is an ongoing conversation, not a one-time assessment. One thing that's very important to understand is that herbs are not meant to override the body. They're meant to work with it. When we try to force outcomes, more energy, less feeling, faster results, we often create new imbalances that didn't exist before. When we support the body in things that it's already trying to do, the change tends to be much more sustainable. Learning to listen to the body takes practice. This isn't about getting it right every single time. It's about paying attention, noticing patterns, and staying curious. Herbalism does not ask us to control the body. It asks us to enter a relationship with it. Sometimes the most supportive choice is not the strongest herb or the fastest solution. Sometimes it's slowing down, at least long enough to ask, what is my body asking for right now? And then responding gently. That's where real sustainable support begins. Just remember, listening is a skill, and it can be learned. Thanks for joining me.